is a set of rules, and yes, it's a democracy, but please don't, just show up to vote every 4 months and then get the heck out of the way so we can go on and do the things we want to do. There is this sense of this dominant horizon that we have to accept. And in terms of the artistic practice, it seems to me that if I were to sign it right here, that when you took it home, you would hang it like this because the artist said so. And I find in a lot of pieces, actually, this is not an example, I will sign it, but I'll sign it all over the place. I'll sign it here, I'll date it here, I'll put the title here, I'll put the archiving number on here, just to confuse people so that they've got to go like this and figure out where it goes. So therefore it becomes a rotational series where there's no dominant horizon. And like I said, my wife explains it this way, is that I apply no cortex at all to my work, right? That it's
Vortex?
cortex.
Cortex.
She's a scientist, so I mean everything's got to be, precise and measured. But in my own defense, it really is to try and subvert the authority, that I've experienced when people say, the artist, right? Well, my response to that is, this room, every one of us are artists. And to sort of to give evidence to that, I would say that when we get up in the morning and we choose the shirt and the pants, the hat, the glasses, coif the hair, that is creating an object, right? That we are fully engaged in representing and how we represent ourselves and explain ourselves to the world, and that is an artistic practice. But it's in this world of specialization where the policeman is in charge of justice, et cetera, somewhere or other we said, and the artist is in charge of creating objects that deliver meaning into our lives. And not to take anything away from it, because I love that. I love being an artist, but it just seems to me that we need to be questioning the authority that we say that's the artist or that's the policeman, or, et cetera, et cetera. So,
can you talk about your obvious affection for automobile parts in your art?
Yeah, that's kind of a curious one. I didn't even learn how to drive till I was 27. So it's not like I, suffered from male hormone toxicity overloads in hot cars and stuff, but I did a show, my first show actually, ever, really. Seemed to be the first show ever. It was at the Museum of Anthropology. It was an intervention, and my uncle's canoe was in there at the time, Bill Reed, and it was on this plinth that it was sort of, elevated as the sacred object. And I know Bill, and I thought, it's a canoe. It's not a sacred object, it's a canoe. You give it, you paddle, And so I thought, well, how can I present that canoe in a way that other people can sort of see that there's something other than the sacred object here? So I thought, well, if I lived in Surrey and I was going to Mud Bay and I had a canoe, I'd put it on the top of my car, the Simpson Sears canoe, and I'd take off to the beach. So then I went around and I found a car, and totally stripped it out and put the canoe on top of that and created a piece, Pedal to the Metal, which is now in the Glenville collection. And but it was in that process of working with the car that I started to look and said, wow, this is really thoughtfully engineered. Like, there is a lot of design and aesthetics and consideration of how does the object move through space, like a canoe does aerodynamically, or hydrodynamically, and a car does aerodynamically. And I got hooked. I got hooked on the aesthetics of all that stuff. And the interesting thing about it also is that it's a beautiful object, but it's also a deadly object, right? I mean, we're kind of in a lot of trouble, as a civilization with our affection for automobiles. So there's this kind of, I'll confess that there was a time when I thought that a woman wearing high heels looked pretty saucy, and I was paying a lot of attention as she moved across the space. And then my wife produced this video on what actually happens to the woman's feet and to her ligaments and stuff, and she walks around in these fetishized shoes, and it totally wrecked it for me. I'm sorry. But so it was that same sort of thing, right? It's the attraction, and then also then you realize the attraction carries with it significant contradictions. So the automobile, so start off with the car, and you guys want to come in further?